All right, off you go.
Hi everyone, for this Tip Tuesday we're going through propagating from flower spikes. So today I've picked Echeveria. You'll probably notice at home that the Echeveria are going bonkers in flower, and I thought what a great video to go through and propagate our leaves. So there's a few reasons why you may want to also take the flower spikes off so that your rosettes puts more energy into growth rather than the flowers, or into developing pups as well. The flowers tend to be magnets for insects, for pests, so you may notice aphids on them, even mealybugs too. So also a good thing to remove them if you don't want them in. But the beauty of the flower spikes is, you know, that they go really nice in like a vase. They do look pretty and they do last for quite a while. And
do you want to go through the names of the
plants?
plants?
So and they're also really good because look at all this propagation material we've got here. So this is Echeveria riga right here, and yeah, there's a stack of leaves on that one there. So other ones that we've got here today, we've got Echeveria Joan Daniel, we've got Echeveria subcorymbosa LAU026.
Sounds like a robot to me.
Yeah, we've got Echeveria Shaviana Heim, we've got Echeveria Exotic, and we've also got Echeveria Pinky Trumpet there as well, and they strike really well from leaves as well. So if you've got one at home and it's in flower and it's got leaves on it, take it off, take those leaves off, give them a go. They're actually quite easy to strike. So you can, there's a couple ways that what you can do with your leaves. So, or a few actually. So you can put them into just like a, you know, I think this is an old bug catcher.
Your daughter's bug catcher,
bug catcher. So they're great for collecting leaves or putting seed in and sowing. So you can put your leaves into that if you like, and you can let them air dry for a couple of days, and then you can put them into a mix or put them on top of a mix. So we've got a seedling tray here, so you can sit your leaves on top if you like. You can do them fresh, the leaves, but just make sure that your mix is actually dry before you do that. Otherwise, then you can get a bit of rot on those tips of the leaves and they just won't work. So you can sit them on top, or you can actually put them into the mix as well. I prefer to put them in the mix, especially in these cell trays here. So you've got 105 cells, so little holes. And
not in the holes though.
Not in those holes, sorry, in these ones that has the potting mix in there. So I like to do it just because once those leaves actually start striking, they're not competing with another leaf. It just gives them a good chance to really get going, develop a good root system, and just to actually grow a lot faster. They're not competing with the nutrients, as opposed to if you put them in the seed tray like this, and they're a lot easier when they're big enough. The leaves, once they've actually developed their own rosettes, they're actually a lot easier to pull out of the cell trays, as opposed to, you know, I got to go digging, trying to get as much roots out too. So it prevents as much stress through transplanting when they go into the soil, into a pot, or out in the garden. So I'm going to take a few. We'll go with this Riga here just because it looks really nice. But actually, you can also, before I go any further, then you can also make sure, if you like to know the names of your plants, it's very important to write labels for them as well. You can also put the date on there too if you like. It's also nice because each variety grows differently, from, you know, the leaf to all the way to an actual rosette plant. So I just personally find it interesting to know how quickly, say, the Rigas take before they become into its own little plant there.
Because you're a plant nerd.
I'm a plant nerd, so, but it's totally up to you. So yeah, I'm just gonna take this flower spike off from here. So you can use scissors, you can use secateurs if you like. You can even use a knife too, but sometimes if you're putting too much pressure with a knife through the flower spike, sometimes you'll go through it and you'll take a few leaves off the actual rosette too. So scissors is probably, or secateurs is safer. So then all I'm going to do is just grab use my thumb and my index finger. I'm going to grab the leaf right where it attaches onto the flower spike, so pretty much right there. And all I'm going to do is just give it a little bit of a twist, so like that. And there you go, you've got the whole leaf there. Sometimes you'll actually grab a little bit of the meristem off the actual flower spike, and that's okay as well, it'll still work. So all I do then is I'll use the daughter's old bug catcher and I'll put them in there. So once you start you know, you've done a few.
Satisfying snap sound.
Yep. Ah, yes. Perfect. Yep. And once you start doing it, you start to get a lot faster too. So it's much easier, I find, to actually get the leaves off flower spikes than the actual rosette of the plant, because it's really hard to get right in there and try and get your index finger and your thumb right in there and try and get as close to where the leaf actually attaches onto the stem of the plant and try and get it off there. They're really hard on agavoides, so if you're trying agavoides, it can be really tricky to get, because sometimes you'll snap the leaf, but the end of the leaf will actually still be attached to the actual stem, and they won't work.
Better off unpotting them, I reckon, half the time.
Yeah, doing that, or you can even just head chop the whole rosette if you want, and then you can take a nice amount of leaves off there and leave a little bit of a stem for a new root system to come. That's another good way of doing it there. So yeah, then I'll just do the subcorymbosa, and same thing, just like that, as close as you can. And you know, once you've done a few of these, you get really quick at it. And you know, look at that, from one flower spike, well, we've got about 15 leaves there. That's just a guess. So you can actually get a lot of leaves from it. So not every leaf is going to strike. You will have some that'll will die on you, and that's okay. But you know, it's probably one of the besides actually doing them from seed, the plants, leaves are actually probably not necessarily the fastest way, but a good way of getting quite a good number of the one plant there, as opposed to if you're waiting for like pups and stuff to develop. They're a lot faster, say like on this one here, but you know, I'm only going to get about 10 plants there off that one plant, as opposed to, you know, 15-20 leaves off the actual one flower spike there. So then we'll just go to the haim. So this part of the flower spike here, you don't need to worry about that. It will actually die off, and it'll just fall off naturally itself, or once it's dead, you can just use your finger, your couple fingers, and you can just give it a little bit of a wiggle or a twist, and it will actually break off itself. So don't worry about that. It will die.
So what happens if you don't cut your flower spikes?
So if you don't cut your flower spikes, well, they're just going to keep flowering and use a lot of energy into the flower. Then eventually the whole flower spike's just going to die, and you're going to have to trim it off anyway. So, and they can look a little bit messy once you let them go for too long. I just like to do it early on in the spring, just because they're growing like crazy, and I want growth into the rosette or into developing pups, not so much that. And while the leaves are still fresh on the flower spike, I can propagate them and use them. So whereas if the flower spike dies, if you let it stay on there for too long, those leaves will die too, and yeah, it's not going to be very productive, that flower spike there. So yeah, unless you're going to try and do them from seed. So I'm just going to try not to cut that leaf. And yeah, same thing. Yeah, if you've got and this just comes from experience, when you're doing a particular variety that actually takes, you know, you don't get as much of a high success rate of that leaf striking. You may then want to go, especially if you're going in the cell tray, you may actually want to put two. I know it will. I mean, if they both strike, well then yes, you've got a little bit of an issue there with competition. But you've got hopefully a higher chance of at least one of those leaves from striking there. So say for Joe and Daniel, it doesn't strike as easily as say the haim that I just did then. So I'd probably put 2 leaves per cell in there. And with the haim, I'll just go 1, because I know that it strikes pretty easily out this way. So
you like to actually stick the end under the dirt?
Yep, I do as well, because when it comes to the leaves actually starting to throw roots out, they will dry out a lot faster, especially if you're sitting them on top of your mix. So that way I like to put them in the mix. It keeps them a little bit more moist, and I don't have to water it as regularly compared to when they're sitting on top of the potting mix and starting to throw roots there. So that's just a tip.
But you don't water it until they've got roots, yes?
Oh, that's right, yeah. So, I mean, you can do that then. I mean, it's a little bit harder if they're actually in the potting mix, so I would leave it probably about a week. That way I know that the tips of the ends of those leaves have actually calloused over or dried, and then it's safe to actually start watering. But you don't want to just drown them, like stick them out in the rain, or really give them a good hose down. I'd just give them a little bit of a mist to get going. And then once you start seeing some leaves popping up from a new rosette that's forming, then you can probably water a little bit heavier on that and get them going. And yeah, that's it. I mean, I could keep doing this, but I don't know if everyone likes that. So yeah, this is Pinky Trumpet here. Again, this one strikes really easily as well, and you know, look at that, from that one flower spike I've got about 10 there, so really easy. That's
so if you're putting it on the dirt over here, would you shove them in or just lay them flat on top?
I would shove them in myself, yeah, just because then it goes to, you know, once they actually start throwing their roots, then they're going to dry it a lot faster, so then I'm going to have to mist them a lot more regularly as opposed to in the actual mix. So okay. Me personally, I like to leave them in the mix.
Okay, so same thing.
Yep.
It just saves you a
just
step
like that
to go straight into the other one.
Yep, so you can put them pretty close together, that's fine. Yep, so just like that really. Some people will actually, if they're sitting them on top, they will go, you know, some people will just put them just in a line like that, or sometimes they'll alternate them. That way when the rosettes form, there's a little bit of a spacing between them, as opposed to if they're all together like that, then they're a lot closer together. So, but it's all personal choice. Whatever you like doing, that's fine.
So what do you do with the end of these, the flowers then?
So you can use them, put them in a vase if you like, if the flowers are still okay. I have had some friends actually put them into a mix themselves, and you actually start having pups forming. I haven't had a lot of success for it, and yeah, I don't really put much time into this, so I just would much rather take the leaves off and try it that way. So, but
I like them in a vase. They're very pretty when you put them all together.
Yeah, very nice in a vase. So what you've got that one there.
They last ages, like a month sometimes.
Exotic, and then then you've got the Riga. So you've got a couple of different colours there. Really nice then if you just throw a little bit of yellow in it as well. A yellow flower.
Very cute.
So they're quite pretty, and like I said earlier on, they do last quite a while as well. So yeah, hopefully you found that helpful. If you're liking our videos, please make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. Hit the notification button as well, and then when we're uploading future videos, you'll get notified, and you can watch them at your own leisure. But yeah, give that a go. Have a great week, and we'll catch you the next Tip Tuesday. See yous.